Hi, my name is Sandy Carter, and I'm IBM's Vice President for Social Business Evangelism, and welcome to our Social Business Coffee Break. Today we have a very exciting coffee break. We'll just take a few minutes of your time, and we're going to talk about probably one of the most important elements of being social, and that is your culture. So if you look at the way that we advise customers to develop a plan for becoming a social business, one of the very first things we do in developing a social business agenda is we help a company to evaluate its culture and the acceptance of social within its culture. In fact, one of my very favorite sayings is that culture eats strategy for lunch. A lot of companies I work with, they have great social plans or social strategies, but because they haven't aligned it with the culture that exists, even in a division or in a company overall, they're not successful in rolling out social, and they get stalled or they get disillusioned and they don't continue. So this is my number one question I get as I travel around the world is how do you do that cultural assessment to know if you need to change your culture or if you need to say I'm going to stay with my culture but pick a project that fits those particular needs. Now, one of the things that we've developed, and it's outlined in the book, Get Bold, is something called a cultural assessment. It's probably best if someone external comes in and does the assessment for you, but you could do it yourself as well. And essentially, your senior team, either in the division or of a company, are going to rate your culture. Again, there's no right and there's no wrong, but it looks at things like, does your company reward for team behavior or individual behavior? Is your communication guarded or is it open and free-flowing? Are you going to reward risk, for taking a risk, or are you going to penalize that risk? Again, there's no right or wrong, and it's not yes or no, it's a rating system. But by doing that, it helps you to prepare for success or a very successful deployment of social. Now, there are really two options when you go through the assessment. The first is you say, you know what, to really do what we want to accomplish in our business goals and with social, we need to transform that culture. And we've seen this across the board at places like TD Bank and Lowe's or Bear. There are also places that we see where they say, you know what, the culture is what makes us special. So we want to match a project to that particular culture. Again, there's no right or wrong. They're just different ways to deploy. So what are some best practices once you've really gone through this cultural assessment to either change or to fit that project to your culture? Well, the first part is to make sure you've got buy-in from all parts of the organization, especially the top, either of your division or your company. Because as you go through that cultural assessment, if you're going to need to transform, that transformation of culture typically begins at the top. The second thing is to have a very well thought out adoption plan, use cases that support that culture of change or culture of sharing that social brings. And then finally, to really think through that best practice of having a competent technical department that can make sure that as you roll out that social platform, either internally or externally, with that cultural change, that you really don't have any ups or downs as you roll that out. So hopefully today, this cultural assessment discussion is very useful for you and very actionable. This has been Sandy Carter in our Social Business Coffee Break. Thank you.